This is a decellularized heart. Decellularization is the process by which you use a surfactant, or basically soap, to wash away all the cellular material from a piece of tissue and leave behind only a scaffold. In this case, because it's a heart, it would be made mostly of collagen and fibronectin. In this video, we're going to be using the same technique, but on a slightly different piece of tissue. This process will work on a variety of different tissues, but I'm going to be starting with some apple. There's a wide range of surfactants to choose from, but the most common one that's used for this process is SDS, and so that's what I'll be using. I'm also using a small diaphragm pump and variable power supply to circulate the liquid. To keep the process quick and easy, we're going to be using some slices of apple rather than using a whole fruit. I ended up using two different varieties of apple, and they both seem to work equally well. Place the slices in a freezer bag and transfer to the freezer for about 40 minutes. To see how this process works with other fruits and veg, I used this selection of fruit and repeated the same freezing process with them. To prepare our SDS solution, we need a 0.5% solution, so that's 5 grams of SDS per every liter of water. I used deionized water, but distilled or filtered would probably work as well. Once that's done, just give it a mix. It will take some time to dissolve, so just be patient. I only had the one pump, so for the other fruit and veg, I just let them sit in their containers and continually changed out the solution. I also changed out the apple solution. This process is incredibly simple, and all you have to do is really wait. Here you can see what happens after the first couple of hours. That foggy, silvery stuff is all the cellular material being dissolved out and pulled out of the pieces of tissue. After a day, everything was starting to look significantly lighter. Specifically, the strawberries looked probably the best, and they were almost transparent. So I knew that they definitely needed a little more time, but the process was working great. Throughout the process, the apples looked pretty boring, and it wasn't until the end that you could see a noticeable change. Here's another day further. You can see the strawberries are getting lighter still, and so is everything else, but everything else took significantly longer. Here you can see the progression of the strawberry over the 3 days that I let it soak in the SDS solution. I changed out the solution every 3 to 6 hours and continued this for the entire 3 days. When it was done, I was left with a totally white piece of tissue. The mushrooms probably looked the least interesting. While they did release lots of that silvery cellular fog, they didn't really go transparent or translucent, so didn't look like much, but they are decellularized. The broccoli took the longest out of all of them, and after about half a week this is what it looked like, and finally at about a week and a half I'd finally gotten it to fully white. It's significantly denser tissue, and that's why it took so long. The kiwi went the other way. It's sort of weird tissue, and rather than going totally colorless, it ended up going more transparent. As I said before, it was really hard to tell when the apples were done, so I probably left them in there a little bit too long, but by the end they were significantly more transparent, they'd lost a lot of their color, and they had released a lot of cellular material over the week that they were in there. To preserve the scaffolds, first do a couple of washes for an hour or two in deionized water, and then you can transfer them to 99% isopropyl alcohol. You may be wondering, so what's the point of all this? Why are we decellularizing this tissue? Well, other than the fact that it looks really cool and will make a great decoration for my lab, you can actually seed these scaffolds with whatever new tissue you want. So I could take cow muscle cell and seed it into the strawberry and essentially make meat berries. And I may do that in a future video, so be sure to stay tuned. Okay guys, that's all I've got for this video. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave me a comment with what tissue you want me to decellularize next. Also, I'm going to be doing a Q&A, so if you've got any questions you'd like me to answer, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. If you're interested in more content behind the scenes and daily updates, be sure to check out my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all links in the description down below. And if you're interested in some of my research, be sure to check out my website, link also in the description. And I'll see you next time.